It is my pleasure to welcome my guest, Doug Evans. Are you there, sir?
Yeah.
He's here! Fantastic. And thank you for spending your July 4th, well, not your entire July 4th, but part of your July 4th with us here at WFMU.
And, it's my pleasure.
And I know how much you like to blow things up, so it's a perfect day for you to be here.
Yeah.
And do you have anything in store over where you are in terms of explosions today?
No, not really. We live in the desert, so it's pretty dry, and there's been a lot of fires, so I don't want to really blow anything up. Try to catch anything on fire, but
wow, that's probably hard for you.
My girlfriend Marilee, she's going to be in a chili cook-off later, so I think I'll blow up my bowels. Eating chili. That's probably what'll happen.
That is some kind of celebration, some kind of explosion. Not sure if it would be a celebration or not. But she's a great cook, though.
Yeah. Well, and there'll be a lot of them. So it's kind of a big thing.
Oh, good. Yeah, I didn't actually think about like the desert and fire. Does that leave you feeling a little restricted?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly does. You can't have it's really, you don't want to have an open fire. You need to have a fire pit or a barbecue pit or something like that, because it's so dry, And we just had a fire in Banning, California, which is not too far from us. And then there was a small one which only burnt like 1,000 acres,
Only.
Just like 3 or 4 days ago, and it was so. I'd never, this is the first summer that I've lived here, so it was so smoky you couldn't even see where it was. You would think that it was burning in our front yard, but it wasn't.
Wow. That's
kind of freaky.
That is kind of crazy. I wanted to just ask you, because I did just play in that set. Whose idea was it to cover the Devo, Mr. DNA?
It was Rick's.
Mm-hmm.
Rick. It was his idea. The whole band wanted to do a Devo song. We were all big Devo fans. And we still are, but it was Rick's idea to do Mr. DNA. I didn't want to do it really because on the Devo record it's 2 songs.
Yes.
Kind of stuck
the
together.
Smart Patrol, yeah.
But it was kind of like, well, how are we going to get into this,
Mm-hmm.
But I thought we did a really good job.
I think you did, yeah, absolutely.
A lot of other people did too, Everywhere we went, people would go, oh, play Mr. DNA, play Mr. DNA. And then an interesting tidbit is that we never played it live.
Ah.
So, and then I heard the tail end of Christmas Fish, which was another song that was, there was this Chinese bar that never had anyone in it, called Chin's, oddly enough, in Champaign, Illinois, and they had this big marlin, a fish, on the wall, and it was covered in Christmas lights.
Mm-hmm.
And it was over a booth. And one evening, we'd gotten really drunk with the guys from Urge Overkill underneath that fish, and so that's where that song came from.
Fixated on the fish.
Yeah.
Awesome. The and so now I did want to touch on, because I played Blower in your in the last set, and there's a 7-inch out that you guys recorded with Steve Albini.
Yeah.
And you go back, I guess, quite a ways with that man.
Yeah, he did. He recorded all of the Digits records except the first 2.
Mm-hmm.
Which in the first one we released on our own label, and then it got re-released on Touch and Go after we were on Touch and Go, and then of course on CD the first 2 records are on the same CD, but Ian Burgess did those 2 records. I don't know if you remember him. but
Did
he also did
like
Naked
Naked
Ray
Ray Gun,
Gun
yeah,
and
yeah.
Effigies and a lot of other bands.
Yeah.
He passed away too.
Oh,
So,
really? Wow.
Yeah, quite a while ago, but
Oh, maybe I heard at the time. I guess I probably forgot.
yeah.
That's a
Well, he
drag.
moved to France and moved his whole studio over to France because that's where he was from. And I didn't really, we kind of lost touch with him. But then Albini did all the other, everything past Hey Judester, Albini did.
Mm-hmm. And
we worked with him a lot, and he's a good friend. And so when we did Blower back in 2008 or whenever, I called him up and I said, hey man, after not talking to him for 10 years or 15 years, I said, hey, would you record my band? So it was a lot of fun.
And what do you like about his style?
Well, he knew what I told him, I said, I want the record to have that same thing that we did when I was in the Digits. We recorded everything live. It was all, you just set the band up and go. There's no isolating the drums or isolating the guitar or isolating the, you just put everybody in a room and turn it up really loud and record it. That's the way we did it. And I thought it sounded good. I thought the Digits record sounded really good.
So you're saying all of those Digits records were recorded in that way?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, every one of them.
Wow.
Except, obviously overdubbed guitar tracks and vocals and stuff like that weren't done live.
Yeah, of course.
But all of the rhythm tracks, like the drum, bass, and guitar, the root of the song was recorded live.
Wow.
Like we just like I said, everything was the guitar and the bass and the drums were all set up in a room. And originally, Steve's studio was in the basement of his house in Chicago, and we would just sit. Rick and I actually built the thing.
Oh, really?
But we would just set, the drums and the bass and the guitar in the room like we were going to practice, and just mic everything and turn, and just go. And we recorded every song live like that, and we did it from the beginning, from the get-go. We started doing it because we could only afford, when we recorded with Ian Burgess, he had this deal where you pay $500 and you do your record in 24 hours. So it would be mixed, mastered, and done in 24 hours.
Wow.
And back in those days, that was we didn't have any money.
Yeah.
So,
and that's very efficient.
So we got in the habit of doing that, recording that way. Just you had to get it done. So you had to go into the studio already knowing the songs and already knowing every little bit and piece, and just throw it out there and mix, so you could get to mixing it and have time to mix it and stuff like that. And it just works. It works for me, and my music, sounds good that way. So when Blower went to record with Steve, we did it. We actually took more time than we had ever done on a Digits record.
Wow.
But we still did it the same. We still recorded it analog. There's no digital. It was all done on 2-inch tape, and we took like 4 or 5 days to do that, to do the Blower thing. Which we actually recorded a full length, but we only released a single.
Ah.
So there is a full length, and I believe if you go to Blower at bandcamp.com, you can get all of the other songs.
Oh, cool.
But the thing with that stuff was recorded in 2008 or 2009. I think when we did that with Albini, and Blower, the band, has changed a lot since then.
Yeah, you guys moved.
Yeah, we moved. Yeah, we moved from Austin, Texas, to Joshua Tree, California. But and we weren't sure if we were going to continue playing. And then when we got out here, we found this guy, Steve Shigley, our drummer, who he was an awesome drummer, and he was real excited to play with us. So we kept going, and we actually played in L.A. back last October for this a friend of mine, Bob Lee, who was in a band called Clawhammer, who did a cover of a Devo album in its entirety.
Wow.
Which is one, if you're a Devo fan, you should look that up, because it's really good.
Wow.
I can't remember which album they did, but they covered the whole record.
Awesome.
So that was back in the 90s. But anyway, we played a show there with Mike Watt's band, of course, from the Minutemen.
Of course.
And it went really well, and we had a lot of good, people really liked it and stuff. And then we just, my girlfriend's catering business kind of took off, and we just started working on new material and stuff like that. But with thinking, well, we're gonna hit it hard. And then our drummer's girlfriend, I hope she got pregnant, and they decided that they didn't want, they wanted to move to Portland. So
right now you're drummerless.
Yeah, he has he does these sculptures with made out of dead Joshua trees, and he has a gallery, I think, in that he doesn't own it, but there's a gallery in Palm Springs where he sells his stuff. So he's here a lot.
I would think you'd have to get that
I don't
supply.
know, as far as playing, like what we were playing a lot. We went from playing and rehearsing a lot to not doing it at all.
Okay.
I don't know what's gonna
well, so you may be in flux
right now. It would be. I really want to play. I have to.
You should play.
It's
Yes,
part of me.
you absolutely have to. I know you, and I see you play, and I know it's in your blood.
Yeah. And but I think I might. I want to do something a little heavier than Blower. I'd like to do something a little more. I don't know. And it's one of those things that I'm worried about, like that a lot of artists seem to, they change their style a bit, or they do something different, and people are just like, what is this?
Yeah.
But I'm still going to play loud rock and roll. It's just going to be a little bit more.
Well, and you're allowed to change. You can't change who you are, and so maybe when you combine with other people, you get a sort of a mixed bag. So that's all there is, Well, so
right.
good. So anybody in the Joshua Tree area, hit Doug up on the Blower Bandcamp website, or on Facebook, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Doug Evans.
Yeah, Facebook's the best way. Usually.
And
Facebook's the best way to get a hold of me or the band, because we check it pretty regularly.
Awesome. And since it's July 4th, I was told by somebody to ask you about the Cannon in the Park story.
Okay, I know where that came from.
If that's is that okay with you?
Yeah, it's fine. It goes. I mean, it's really kind of ridiculous. When I was maybe 14, and I had a friend that we ran around and did all sorts of shenanigans and stuff like that. I mean, during the 70s, it was the 70s.
Right.
There was a lot of nefarious substances flying around, but on the 4th of July, I grew up in this little town called Mattoon, Illinois. It's this tiny little town about 2.5 hours south of Chicago, and it has about 19,000 people, I think, or it did then. I think it's down to about 12 now.
Oh.
It was a blue collar town. There was nothing there. There was no university, no nothing. It was just factories, and that was it, you know. But it was a really old town. I think it was established in the mid 1800s or something, before the Civil War. Anyway, they had this park, and every 4th of July, there was a baseball field. They would set off fireworks in the baseball field. Now, adjacent or across from the baseball field was an old World War II tank that they had as a memorial, and it's still there to this day.
Mm-hmm.
So this friend and I built this bomb out of gunpowder and I think a Tylenol bottle or something, and we dropped it down the gun on this tank, you know, and it had a really long fuse on it, so we lit it and then just kind of meandered around and waited for it to go off, and then it finally did. It was much more spectacular than we thought. You know, we just thought it would kind of bang and whatever, but I think I'm not a pyrotechnician or anything like that, you know. And certainly at age 14, I didn't really know what was going to happen. But anyway, it ended up being this huge explosion, and this big ball of fire and smoke came out the end of the gun on this tank, and then this park is filled with hundreds of people. So all of these people are laying on the ground, you know. And I'm just looking around because I didn't think anything of it. I knew it was going to happen, and I didn't realize what effect it would have on people around. You know, we just thought people would. But there are all these people like laying on the ground, and they're standing up looking to see what the thing shot, because they thought that the tank had actually gone off.
Right,
you know?
that there was some projectile
and
that they were in
after
danger.
it had been sitting there for 50 years, you know, it went off. So anyway, it was quite a you know. Every cop in the city showed up. A fire truck showed up. They evacuated the whole park. They you know, they went and to make sure that this tank hadn't gone off, you know. It was pretty funny, but so that's my 4th of July tank story.
That's a pretty great 4th of July tank story.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I did, you know, some of the listeners have had. I've got a listener from Champaign, and he said that the Digits live performances were legendary, and
yeah.
I don't know if you can talk about something that really points in that direction. Any kind of he says unhinged. He actually used the word unhinged and wanted to know if you can recall any unhinged performances. I don't know if there's anything.
Oh, several. Well, you know, we were based in Champaign pretty much our whole time, except for like the last probably 3 or 4 years of the band, and then Rick moved to Chicago, and then we started rehearsing in Chicago and working out of Chicago. But when we played in Champaign, it was always good, and we always tried to do something crazy, you know. And at one show, there was a club there called Nable's, and it's gone now, but which is a shame because it was a great club, and I saw a lot of great bands there. But we, you know, after you start out playing back in the 80s, we started out playing. No one would come and see us. No one wanted to go see a punk band, you know. Everybody hated punk rock. And then somehow it all flipped around, and we started playing huge shows, and people would, you know, we would pack this bar, and so we started doing insane things. We had a pinata filled with cream corn And
Ew.
we lied to the audience and said, oh, it's full of like CDs and stuff like that. And we had this raffle, and whoever won the raffle got to come up and hit the piñata. And of course, it was rigged. We picked the biggest, like, jock football player dude out of the audience that we could pick. We didn't even blindfold the guy. And we gave him a huge baseball bat, And so he hits this piñata full of cream corn.
Oh.
And it just flies, like, the whole audience gets covered in cream corn.
Wow.
And it was, the rest of the show, it was just cream corn flying everywhere. It was great, and I remember they used to have these shows on the quad. The University of Illinois is in Champaign, and they used to have these outdoor shows, kind of a festival every year. And we played one year. I remember it because I had to have knee surgery like the next day, but. Do you remember that band Extreme?
Yeah.
They were a rock band, and they played like metal, like 80s hair band metal or something like that.
Was Nuno Betancourt in that band?
Yeah. Nuno, that's the guy. They had, but they were famous for these acoustic ballads, So there were these two guys playing. I don't know if it was them or not. I was kind of wasted at the time. But there were these two guys playing this Extreme song, sitting there playing guitars, and we were up next. The Digits were. It was our turn to play, and they were playing, and it was time for us to play, and so I had this Triumph Chopper, and this friend of ours who we always had somebody dressed as a transvestite or whatever, but in this particular thing, we had this friend who was dressed as a Nazi soldier, and I had him on the back of my motorcycle, and I rode my motorcycle up onto the stage while these guys were playing, and this guy gets off with this big swastika flag and starts running around. It was kind of unnerving, I guess, and because we were never a skinhead band or anything like that. It was just something weird.
Yeah.
My God. And like I said, usually we had a transvestite dancer, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I can't really. Oh, we played at the Cubby Bear in Chicago, and Rick turned loose like 10,000 crickets onto the audience. Live cricket.
Wow.
So it was pretty. That was pretty hairy. There were a lot of girls running around screaming. With their hair, like crickets in their hair.
That would be upsetting.
It was pretty. So there were. I'm sure there were more that I just can't remember.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm glad that you can remember.
All I remember from that is like lots of crickets, and I had a big giant stuffed panda head. I was wearing it on my head.
Oh, good.
So it was. They were. Digit shows were usually. Pretty crazy. There was usually a fight, and there was usually, there was always some crazy thing going on. On the road, they weren't so bad, but at home they were always crazy.
The legend for playing at home. So I know that you play guitar in Blower now, and you played bass in the Digits. What instrument did you learn first?
I started out playing guitar.
Oh, okay.
I started playing in the Digits because they needed a bass player.
Oh, got it.
And so I started playing bass. That was so long ago when I was so young. Still played guitar. I always had a guitar. But whenever I write music, I write on a guitar. Mm-hmm. I don't write stuff on a bass. And actually, Marilee is playing, or Bunny Bread, as she is in Blower.
Yes.
She's playing my bass that I played when I was in the Digits.
Oh, wow.
So she has all that like mojo going on. Yeah, I started out playing guitar.
Okay.
And I started playing guitar in the 70s. Growing up in the middle of Illinois, all you had was AM radio. There was no FM back then. I mean, it was there, but it wasn't what it is now,
Right.
And so all you were exposed to, or all we were exposed to, was whatever was on top 40 AM radio. Anything independent, as we called it back then, like anything that was on an independent record label, like, or punk rock or anything like that, you had to go to a college radio, FM radio station or something like that, if you could find one, to hear that kind of music, or buy the records and listen to it yourself. I mean, I remember hearing the Sex Pistols. The first time I heard them, I didn't hear them until like 79, 80, because I just wasn't exposed to it until someone went to New York, bought the record, and brought it back to Mattoon, Illinois.
Right.
And then someone asked me one time about, the Digits, and I have a big problem with the Digits being a punk band. I didn't really. We didn't really. We were more just like white trash rock, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think it started out as something, it was just we practiced literally in a chicken coop out in the middle of nowhere, and we would just get really drunk and turn everything up really loud, and that's what it was. It wasn't, we didn't go, oh, we're going to be a punk band. That our songs weren't political. They were about cars and girls and drugs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what it was.
I think it was
it just happened to be loud and fast.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think it was the momentum of the time of what was going on, and you probably
but I think we sort of stumbled into it, instead of hitting it purposely.
Right. Oh, I see.
That's one of the things that when I talk to people now about the band, they're oh yeah, you guys were like the punk band, or drag punk is what they call it.
Oh, funny.
That didn't happen until a lot later. I think actually after the Digits as a band had split up, then along came bands like Gas Huffer and Zeke and bands like that,
right.
That were
right.
But we did it way before then, because where we grew up, that's what you did. On Friday nights, you got drunk and you built a hot rod out of somebody's car and drove it up and down the road. That's what you did for fun. Where I'm from.
Right.
I still do it.
Yes, you do. What's your latest project?
Right now I've got a 1941 Ford two-door coupe that I'm building in. It's almost ready to drive. Actually, it's not painted or anything, but I tend to never make it to the paint part. I always Don Garlitz said that he said one time they're done when they run, and that's always been my thing. It's like I've never been a big flashy paint kind of guy. As long as I drive it and it goes fast, then that's the thing. But that's what I'm working on now. And
do you still have your dragster?
No, I sold it. Unfortunately, out here where we live, there's nowhere to.
There's nowhere to race it.
Yeah, Pomona is the nearest drag strip, and it's not that far away. Actually, it's just I don't know. That thing was like really expensive to run, and you needed you had to have a people to help you with it. Those cars are you can't just get in them and go down the track. It required a whole pit crew to get it from point A to point B, and it was hard to find people. Of course, I couldn't pay anybody to help me, so and Marilee helped sometimes, and I had one of my best friends that helped me most of the time. But like I said, it's hard to get people just to come out to a drag strip for nothing.
Right. It's a labor of love. If somebody offered to sponsor you, would you do it that way, or would you want to build everything yourself?
You mean just like as a driver?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course I would. I was just thinking the other day, because I still have a fire suit and everything, and I was looking in the garage, and I'm like, wow, I still have my fire suit and everything, and so I could get hired as a driver,
Mm-hmm.
I could drive somebody's fuel car, but I don't. That's hard to do, especially if you don't have a reputation for it, So I don't know.
I guess it just
but
depends.
It's something that I would do, sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's yeah. I mean, I have had the opportunity to sit in Doug's Dragster and to behold the fumes and the sound and the whole thing of
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, no, and I mean, really, it's an awesome experience, and your skill is pretty amazing, So.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, and I
think there's pictures of that on my Facebook.
Oh, cool.
I think there's a picture of you sitting in it when it was running.
There may be.
I think that was after a Blower show or something, or during South by Southwest.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I just remember like all of us going back to our house and being like, "Hey, let's start up the dragster."
Look at that thing sitting back there. Let's start that thing up.
Yeah, let's start it up.
Let's see the fire coming out of the sides.
Right.
So you're here as a guest DJ, and I wanted to ask you, what would you like to start your set with?
Okay, that's a good question. Because when you had asked me about this, I picked all these songs.
Mm-hmm. And it's a different mood a couple days later, so that's always how it goes.
I don't know. I would say the Jimi Hendrix song "Killing Floor" from Live at Monterey. That's always been one of my favorite songs.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I would. That song has so much energy and so much punch, and I don't know. That would be the one I'd want to hear.